Okay, so now we're gonna get into the video. All right, hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Last week, was it last week or the week before? I think it was the week before. I put out a video about my pregnancy journey experience, and I told y'all that I would be putting out another video about my birthing experience. So that's what this video is. Um, so let's get into it. So I gave birth July 30th, 2021. I did give birth at a hospital. Um, and I had a C-section and I was induced. So, first of all, the way that the induction came about was my due date was July 26th. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know this or not, but a lot of the time, babies don't come on their due date. That's been my experience. Let me say that. Babies don't really come on their due dates, but babies always come on their birthdays. So, I wasn't tripping about my daughter being born right then and there on July 26th. That was not a big deal for me. I was not uncomfortable. I was not like a get this baby out of me. The only problem that I was really having in my third trimester was postpartum, not postpartum, my goodness, was pregnancy insomnia. But besides that, I was good. Besides the occasional having trouble breathing because I'm growing a human being inside of me and she's getting bigger and my lungs are getting smaller. So besides that, I was fine. So I think July 26th was a Monday. Wednesday, the 28th, I went to an appointment with my OB because we were going to talk about induction. And, once you get to a certain point in pregnancy, they want to see you every week. So I told her I didn't want to be induced. I wanted to go into labor naturally. That was just what I wanted to do. And she told me that that was fine. But the issue was going to be that she wasn't going to be able to deliver the baby, more than likely. Now, she was supposed to be leaving to go on vacation, I think that weekend or the following week. And she was like, if you wait, there's going to be another OB that has to deliver. I did not want that because the OB office that I was going to at the time, I did not have um, good experiences with the other OBs. They were very dismissive, and I do think some of them did not believe that some of the stuff that I was telling them was actually going on. I would wait in the waiting room for an hour plus to 2 hours to be seen for 10 minutes. And like I said, they were very dismissive and didn't listen. So I did not like what I went through with them. My OB, she started off being dismissive and not listening, but once I started going to the hospital more often, then she was like, oh crap, there's really stuff going on with you. So decided to stick with her. Anyways, I wanted her to deliver my baby. So me and my husband talked. We agreed on an induction because he was basically telling me whatever you're on, I'm on. What you want to do is fine with me just as long as you're safe. So we agreed on induction. The induction was set up for the following day. Normally they call you and they tell you, hey, we have a place ready or we don't. But my OB was able to call them and get the induction scheduled for the next day. So that Thursday, the 29th, I went into the hospital. I think it was 10:30. Yeah, 10:30 in the morning, and did all the paperwork, got all our stuff, got settled in, and the method of induction that we were using was the pill inside the cheek. I don't remember what the pill was called. I don't remember the name of it. But pill inside the cheek, and then the balloon method. I did not know about the balloon method until I got pregnant. The reason I found out about it is because one of my friends was actually telling me that she had done it when she got induced. So that's how I found out about it. I will say it was not painful, it was uncomfortable. So That's something I wasn't expecting because when my OB was explaining it to me when I went to that appointment the day before the induction, I was like, that sounds like it's gonna hurt. And she's like, no, it's just gonna be really uncomfortable. Whatever. Hold on. No, this is not a Stanley Cup. This is from Target. Words. This is from Target. The brand is called Reduce. Sorry, water went down the wrong pipe. The brand is called Reduce. I'm assuming because it's made with recycled material, and it was like $15. So no, this is not a Stanley. Don't come for me. Anyways, back to the story. So the balloon method, I will try to link some videos because I'm not very good at explaining. But basically, think of like a straw with like two balloons. So this straw, one balloon here, one balloon here. They insert it inside of you and then they fill it with water. That was my method of induction. Again, it was uncomfortable. It's not painful. And then whenever your OB feels necessary, they remove the balloons. Yes, filled up. They don't drain them. They remove it. So we did that. We settled in. Now, me and my husband at the time were watching, y'all probably heard of the show Manifest. We were trying to get to the season finale before our kid got there. And so we were watching it in the hospital room, trying to get through it so we could watch that season finale so we could know what's going on, right? And we could catch up. So we're sitting there. Fast forward. Okay, we're sitting there. They have me on Pitocin. I don't know why my kid didn't like Pitocin, but every time they put me on it, her heart rate would drop. So at one point, I had just told them to take me off of it. My OB reiterated to me that I was not going to progress fast enough and that if I wanted her to be the one to deliver my baby, this was kind of going to have to get done quickly. Now, again, I will say this process was very rushed. Um, that is one of my biggest takeaways from it. It was very rushed, and I did not like that. But it happened. You know, all I can do is educate people now to advocate for themselves because that's one thing that I wish I would have done more is advocate for myself and let my husband advocate for me because there were some things that he was like, no, this isn't what you want. And I was like, no, it's fine. So, anyways, fast forward, I am sitting there watching Manifest with my husband, and my OB comes in, and on they have monitors where you can see the baby's heart rate and like their activity, and then my contractions. So my OB walks in and she was like, "You're in the middle of a contraction." Now, mind you, I'm already annoyed because I just feel like she keeps coming in and reiterating, "We got to get this done. We got to get this done." That was very annoying. So when she came in and she's like, "You're in the middle of a contraction," I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'm trying to watch this show." She's like, "That's a big contraction." And I'm like, "Okay, now, again, a little bit more context. Whenever I had contractions, they were not painful, okay? They felt like period cramps, and I've had really bad period cramps. They weren't painful. They were in my back, but they weren't painful. Before I even got pregnant, women that women that I knew that had given birth, I asked them, "What do your contractions feel like?" I've looked it up online, I've watched videos, and a lot of women say, "Oh, well, you have to experience for yourself. I can't explain it to you." And I would always be like, "What do you mean you can't explain it?" Because I'm a planner. Anybody that knows me personally knows that I'm a planner. So now that I've given birth, though, I 100% agree with them. You have to experience it for yourself because it's different for everybody. Like, I wasn't in pain, My pain threshold is very high. Um, that's not a brag though, because there are times where I'll be in a lot of pain and I'm like, no, it's fine. I can, deal with it. And I don't get the help that I need. So that's not a brag. That's not a flex. Anyways, my pain threshold is high. And so I was laying there and there was like one contraction where I like grabbed the bed and I was like, but I like breathed through it and I was fine. Breathed through it. Yeah. And I was good. Like it lasted all of 2 seconds. So my contractions um weren't very painful. So my OB comes in, she's like, you're having a really big contraction. You're gonna need to get the epidural because you're gonna progress really quickly. So she checks me and I'm like 6.5 centimeters dilated, right? She takes me off the Pitocin and she's like, you're just not progressing very quickly. And I'm like, okay. Again, this is my first time giving birth. I never did this before. And yes, I've watched a million and one birthing videos, and I love watching birthing videos, C-sections, and vaginal deliveries. Little side note. But this is my first time. My mom was not a very good person to go to because I was born in Trinidad. So at the time, whenever she gave birth, it was natural and she waited too long to get the epidural. So her birth experience was very different and she did not have that much pain giving birth to me. So her experience was very different from what my experience was. So when she told me about hers, I was like, all right, cool. Like I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna be in pain, but like the baby gonna come out. Cool. I'm gonna meet a baby at the end, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't really know all what to expect. I've heard other people's stories, but again, it's different for everyone. So I don't know if I'm remembering this right. I think I am. But she brought the person that did my epidural, she told me, my OB told me it was a doctor. I don't know why she felt like she needed to tell me that, but that's what she said. I was like, okay, cool. I don't care. Um, so I'm sitting on the bed, got a pillow in front of me, and Shotty's back there for a minute. Now, every epidural video that I've watched, it goes by fairly quickly. Shotty back there for like 30 minutes, like 20, 25 minutes before she stick this thing in my back. And she asked me, do you have scoliosis? I was like, no. Now, I did that little test in 8th grade to make sure that I didn't have scoliosis. So I don't have scoliosis. But in all seriousness, I've also been to chiropractors before. So they never said anything about scoliosis. Like, that was never an issue. So I thought that that was really weird. Come to find out later on, she put the epidural in the wrong spot. Long story short. So she gives me the epidural, and I'm laying there, I'm chilling. My OB's like, rest. We'll come back and check on you in a few hours. Now, I will say the nurses, oh, I loved all of my nurses. I did have one pregnant nurse. I think she was like 8.5 months pregnant at the time. And she was like, oh, this is going to be me, in a few weeks. Da, 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 da. I'm so excited. Excuse me. This was also her first child. So she was very excited about it. So we were talking about that. It was nice having a pregnant nurse, I will say. Um, they came in, they kept, repositioning me and making sure that I knew that I had options as far as how I wanted to give birth if I did have a vaginal delivery. That was super nice. Oh my gosh, because I had always heard that the nurses are very adamant about you laying on your back, lay on your back, lay on your back, and that was not my experience at all. They gave me different things to use so I could, they gave me like it looked like a ball. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if they called it a bean ball or whatever. They gave me one of those to put between my legs, to put behind me. Like they were doing everything just to make sure that I knew all the different positions that I could give birth in. So I get my epidural and the nurses come in and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna reposition you, and see if that kind of jump starts anything, whatever." Since I didn't want the pitocin, I was like, "All right, cool." So they're like, "Now let us do most of the lifting because you just had your epidural. You're not gonna be able to move your legs." So I was like, all right, cool. So one of the nurses starts like poking at my legs and stuff. She's like, can you feel this? I was like, yeah. She's like, "Does it just feel like pressure?" I was like, "Well, no, like I can like feel you on my skin." And she's like, "Okay, well, let's turn you." So, oh, they put me up on all fours, but I got up and the nurse was like, "Didn't you just have your epidural?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You're not supposed to be able to do that." I was like, "Oh, well, I can move my legs." Again, this is my first time. So I'm like, I didn't think anything of it. Like I always heard with the epidural, you're not able to move anything like from here down. I've heard that, but again, this is my first time. Don't know what to experience. I mean, don't know what to expect. So the nurse was like, we'll be right back. So my OB comes in and she's like, uh, are you okay? Like, can you feel your legs? I was like, yeah, I can feel my legs. She's like, well, let's give it a little bit more time. You just get some rest. I was like, all right, cool. So she comes back in again and she was like, you know, if you want me to deliver the baby, we're gonna have to kind of speed the process along. She's like, baby's heart rate keeps dropping, so we might have to prep you for a C-section if you don't progress very quickly. And I was like, okay. Now, at this point, my husband's asleep. He had been awake since that Wednesday after my appointment. Like, he had gotten like little naps in here and there, but Buddy Boy was awake with me, okay? And then when I got induced that Thursday, like, he was awake. There was nobody could do nothing to me without him asking questions. So I told him after I got my epidural, I'm like, go ahead and get some sleep. Like we both need to rest, Turn down the lights, take a nap, get some sleep. So he's laying there and my OB's talking to me, whatever. I asked her not to turn the lights on because I didn't want to wake him up because again, he was exhausted from being awake with me for 48 hours. So my OB was just reiterating that if I wanted her to deliver my baby, that I'm gonna have to, we're gonna have to like speed up the process a little bit. She's like, "We'll give you a few more hours. If you don't progress, we're gonna do an emergency C-section." I was like, "Okay." So again, like, hold on. So anyway, sorry about that. Again, this is my first time doing this, so I was like, "Okay, cool. We'll make it work." A few hours later, it was like 4 in the morning. She comes in and she's like, "Hey, you're not progressing very quickly, so we're going to go ahead and prep you for a C-section." Now, again, my husband was sleeping because he had been up for 48 hours with me. And I say with me, but I was sleeping during that time. He had been up making sure that, nothing was done outside of what I wanted. And I think he was also nervous and anxious because when I went to my appointment, like he didn't sleep that night. And then again, he was just up. So I wake my husband up and I'm like, "Babe, they're prepping me for a C-section." And he was like, "For what? Why are they prepping you for a C-section? What do you need a C-section for?" I'm like, "Well, Amari's heart rate keeps dropping, so you know they want to go ahead and get her out." And he was like, "Yeah, when you're on the pitocin, like tell them to take you off." And I'm like, "Yeah, but let's just get it over and done with." So that's another thing. He was very much, "I'll advocate for you. Whatever you're on, I'm on." So they get me prepped for the C-section. I go in the room, the operating room. First of all, it's cold in there, which I should have known, but I did not expect because my room was so warm. I get in there and I'm like, it's a little chilly in here. Okay. I'm in danger. No, but I get in there, they put me on the table. Now, some things that I didn't expect going in there. I didn't expect to not be able to breathe. So when they have to give you that medication so that you don't feel anything from like my neck down, like I was freaking out a little bit. First of all, they had my head elevated. They asked me if I wanted it flat or elevated. I said elevated because when I have it flat, I feel like I'm about to be waterboarded. So, Don't want to do that. So I had my head up and I was sitting there and I was like, like that's how I was breathing because I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like I wasn't getting any air into my lungs. So that was scary. The other thing was I didn't expect to shake as much as I did, but I wasn't shaking because I was cold. I don't remember being that cold. I remember shaking, I guess, from the medication. So my husband was on my left side and there was a nurse on my right, and they had to hold my arms down because of how much I was shaking. Um, they were just talking to me, you know. Another thing that I really regret, ugh. So like I said before, I love watching delivery videos, C-section, vaginal, doesn't matter. Love watching those. Anything to do with pregnancy, anything to do with birth, absolutely love it. And they asked they asked me if I wanted the blue sheet up or if I wanted the clear one. And I said the blue one because I thought that I was going to lay back and take a little nap while she was cutting into me. Yeah, no, that's not how that happened. Duh. But I was exhausted. Like I did not realize how tired I would be. So, I had the perfect opportunity to watch a live birth and I was just like, nope, gonna take a nap. Wish I would have opted for the clear one. Cool, whatever. It's fine. So I'm laying there, she takes baby out. And I hear her say, like, she's beautiful. I was like, all right, cool. Now, another thing I had always heard is that you're gonna hear the baby cry. Like, when the baby comes out, you're gonna hear them cry. Now, my child did not. Now, anybody that knows my kid knows that she's very much, I do what I want, and she has a huge personality, okay? She's 2 going on 20. So I'm like, why is she so quiet? Is there something wrong with my baby? So after like what felt like an eternity, she starts, fussing a little bit, being whiny because it's cold in there. She just came out of somewhere really warm. So my husband didn't want to leave my side, but they had to go do some monitoring on her. So they bring her over, let me see her, let my husband hold her, take some pictures, and then he goes with them to do her monitoring. And he was looking at me, and the nurse was like, "I got her, she's fine." So I go into like the little postpartum recovery area, not the room that we would be staying in, but the recovery area. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "What just happened?" Like I really just had a baby. And I remember them sitting her on top of me, and she felt like a ton of bricks. Like I don't know how else to explain it. She felt so heavy, and I told my husband, I said, "I need you to grab her." So he picks her up and he's holding her. And I will tell you, the first like 2 days in the hospital, he took care of her. The diaper changes, all of the things, he took care of her. I was in the hospital for 5 days. Um, Homeboy took care of her because I don't know what happened to me afterwards, but I don't know. I was just sad. It was weird. Anyways, so my OB was like, "Oh, she's beautiful. Congrats." And I did not see her again until my first appointment with her, my postpartum appointment. So that was great, she said sarcastically. So that was my birth experience. Um, well, I guess I can go into a little bit of detail about my experience at the hospital. So again, the hospital was very accommodating, very nice. Hospital food, 0 out of 10, do not recommend. Although shout out to Mimi. At the time, she worked at the hospital that I gave birth at, and it was funny because when we were coming up to our postpartum room, the elevator opened, and we're about to like go into our room, and I hear this lady screaming down the hallway, "Is that my baby? Wait, is that my baby?" And me and my husband turn around, and it's Mimi running down the hallway because she wanted to see the baby. She was so excited, and she's like, "Oh my god, I love you guys." I love her. Anyways, so, and shout out to her because Shadi was definitely helping me with the meals. She was taking my order, making sure I got it. What is wrong with me? Can I not say words tonight? Made sure that I got everything that I wanted as far as food goes. Shout out to all of our friends that helped afterwards and my parents that brought us food and stuff like that. But love the hospital. After the second day, though, I definitely wanted to leave. I was ready to go home because as soon as I get to sleep, I hear, "We're coming in to do you and baby's vitals." Ugh. Again, the nurses were so sweet and so nice, but I could not get any sleep. Oh my gosh. And there was one point where I stayed up for 3 hours because I was scared that they were going to come in the room and wake me up. So I just decided to stay up and they left me alone for 3 hours and I could have gotten 3 hours of sleep. Now, I don't know about anybody else's kid, but my child slept a lot. Okay? Like a lot. Um, Also, we had our nurses keep checking in on us because they're like, "Do you guys need anything?" We're like, "No, we're fine." I had a nurse bring me a piece of cake at one point because she's like, "You have never used your nurse button. You guys don't call us for anything. We just want to make sure that you're good." She's like, "I just felt like I needed to bring you something." And one of the nurses had asked us, is this your first baby or do you guys have more?" And we're like, "This is our first." And they're like, "We have so many first time parents here and they're using that button for everything. The baby coughs or makes a noise and they're using the button." And I'm like, I mean, she's chilling and babies make noises, babies cry, they're hungry. They've just been through something traumatic as well. Not saying that anybody that has had a fresh baby and keeps calling the nurses dramatic. We just didn't feel the need to do that. Me and my husband have also taken care of newborns, toddlers, babies, kids, whatever. So we knew what to look for. Of course, there were certain things that, unless you have a baby at home for an extended amount of time, you're not really going to know about. But in the hospital, for me, in my opinion, like while you're there, rest. That's how I feel about it. But yeah, so um, afterwards was great. Just the fact that they kept knocking on the door every what felt like 20 minutes. I also didn't like that they had to take the baby to the nursery to monitor her and for the doctor to um check her. And my husband kept trying to go with them. Like he would tell them, like, "No, I'm gonna go." And they're like, "No, it's hospital policy. You can't come." We were very uneasy. Like the whole time that she was gone, we stayed awake because again, this is our first kid. Um, didn't want anything to happen to her. She's out of our sight. Like we're not sleeping. My husband would tell me, like, "Babe, just go ahead and get some rest. I'll stay awake." And I'm like, "Bro, I can't go to sleep. Like my baby's somewhere with a stranger, hearing all the crazy stories." But that's another thing that I didn't like about the hospital, but I found out later on that I could have been like, "Hey, no, we're going." And they couldn't have done anything about it because they can't not let you go with your kid. So again, that's another regret that I have, but so that is my birth story. A little lengthy. My apologies, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please share this with someone. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel if this is your type of thing. Also, share with somebody that's already had a baby and went through this experience, somebody that finds this type of stuff interesting, and somebody, that's pregnant and wants to know what they should advocate for themselves about or their partner should advocate for them about. But yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm hoping to put that out in a week. What's today? Sunday. So probably next Sunday is when the next video will come out. But I'll keep you guys updated.